post and have be as clean and usable as possible.
Question, if you're mixing back, where's the time code coming from? You get capturing the time code then back from your transmitters as well?
What it does, it will take those tracks, it will put them down at a new time code number, okay, because we can't put it at the old number because that would give you duplicate time code on the same memory, and that is a big problem for post. But the system automatically generates a note that says original time code is this, offset is this, so that they know what to put into the edit system to drop that in where it needs to be dropped in. But we can't duplicate the code. It would be bad. Yes?
Would there be any way of, sorry, what was that?
Gary, is there since we're recording this and streaming it live, if you have a question, questions are encouraged, but I want to get the microphone to you before you start.
Glenn, is there any way that you can, with Zaxnet working, set it up so that on those chips on the transmitters, that if you push the slate mic, you will actually lay down what's coming from the slate mic onto those chips through Zaxnet or any software upgrades or maybe hardware, so that when you pull these chips out and you actually throw them on the machine and listen to them, that slate would be there because they don't put the slate up anymore as they used to. That would be very helpful for me. I've used this system a number of times. I've sent in tracks, but I have to, you just listen to them and you have to check time code, which is enough generally, but it would be nice if that slate were there.
The strange part is I've never thought about that possibility ever. And I can stand here and honestly tell you we could do that. As strange as that is, because you'd have to slate the IFB so everyone would hear it, okay, if you were using that single same IFB for the monitor receivers. But all of the transmitters have the ability to receive audio. It's only one of our models, the older TRX 900 and TRX 900 AA, that can have an audio output on them. They're actually transceivers. The LT and the LA are just transmitters, but they have the receivers for time code and remote control. But that IFB audio data does exist inside that unit. So, I'm not standing here committing to you that is it's a possible thing. I don't know that we could or would do it, but it is absolutely possible. And frankly, that's a pretty cool idea.
It would be a real nice feature to put with the Mix 12 in their slate mic system to be able to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued by the concept, and it's the first time anyone told me about it. So I'll ask, but I probably know what I'm going to be told. I'm going to be told, and do you think I'm sitting here doing nothing? Because Howie, who writes all this code, by the way, for those of you that know us, okay, my business partner, Howie, who writes all of our DSP code and does all this, is a freaking genius. So, and none of this would exist without his brilliance and my pestering of him to get it done. So it's just a cool thing. So anyway, thank you for the concept, and we'll have to get back to you on that. Okay. All right, so we talked about Slipstream. We talked about embedded timecode, which are new things. What I'd like to do, let's see how we're doing on time here. Oh, we're doing really well. What I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about Nomad for a moment again. Just because, it's, where is the, you've got a, Devondra, what are you doing? Bogarting the Nomad. Okay. So, Nomad itself, again, is very unique in that it does so many things. And the form factor is pretty cool because you've got all of the inputs here that are within the body of the unit. Each input, each of these 6 are mic and line. As you can imagine, with other recorders, you've got XLRs coming out one side, XLRs coming out of the other. The sound bag gets really small when you have the XLRs in the middle of the unit. In this case, by the way, we don't have a single XLR in this bag, by the way. It's all digital, but obviously you're going to plug a boom mic in, you're going to plug in standard analog sources, maybe wireless from our competitors. But the point is, everything is in here, makes it much more compact for the bag. Also, power consumption on this is between 500 and 600 milliamps, which is ridiculously low, especially when you consider that this thing is broadcasting IFB as well. And it's also recording on up to 3 media at one time, depending upon the model. There's a mirror card here, which is a card that we give away. When I say we give away, you give away to post-production typically. Then the primary card, which is equivalent to the disc that we have in Diva, is in this compartment along with the battery. And this is the one that you would normally keep, so we want it kind of under wraps here as much as possible. In the Nomad 8 and 12, we're actually able to record a third media, which is either a micro SD card, which is under this cover, or a flash memory or hard drive plugged into the USB slot. But that's only on the Nomad 8 and 12. Timecode.
Those run all simultaneously?
Yes, they will run all simultaneously. Because we have yet to deliver the USB part, I'm not going to confirm exactly how many tracks. We're hoping it's all the tracks that it can record, but that part of it is still to be delivered. Okay, right now we are recording on mirror card and primary card at the same time. And I'm also going to talk about where we are, because there's certain features that are yet to come. But certainly the features that it has, I think, are way above and beyond that you can get from any competing product. As I was going to mention, timecode is on BNC connectors here. Reason we did that is because what's on a camera? BNCs. The typical 5-pin LEMO that we use for Diva and has been the standard of the industry for film, TV production, just didn't lend itself to this type of product, because people just want to take a BNC cable, plug a BNC into the camera, plug a BNC in here, and go. So we went with 2 BNCs on this recorder. We have the AES coming in and out on a 15-pin connector. There are 6 output buses coming out of here, as well as 4 pair of inputs, and those inputs give you 8 AES inputs. It's important to remember that we do support AES 42 microphones. We support a single AES 42 mic, and you can control that from the unit itself. So you go into a menu and say, okay, I want inputs 1 and 2 to be AES 42. We have a serial port which will connect to our Mix 8. This will not work with our Mix 12, so if you want to use it on a sound card and you want our 8-fader panel, that's something that is going to be implemented very soon. So you'll be able to have a little mini cart set up with this. I guess for the type of work that's done here in Hollywood, it's going to come down to 2 things. Many people are going to put it in a sound bag, and they're going to have a really great sound bag system, and a lot of people are going to put it on their carts, and they're going to operate this thing as a backup recorder or even as a primary recorder on their carts. I think an important thing here in Hollywood is that so many of you are recording on Diva and Fusion as your primary recorder. And the great part about that is you can take the compact flash card, out of the Diva or the Fusion and put it into the mirror slot here, and you can continue to record on that same card and then put it back into the Diva or Fusion, and therefore the same media goes from recorder to recorder, and you can then give it away to post-production at the end of the day.
Hot swap?
Not hot swap, no. Not hot swap. Although you probably wouldn't hurt anything by doing that, it's just that we don't guarantee that. Now that you mention it, I do think you can plug the
Can be hot swap.
they can be, yeah. I think
Just a primary
Yeah, no, not the primary card. We didn't design it to be hot swap, but it turns out that the mirror card can be.
Okay. The mirroring is simultaneous among the
It is,
Diva?
well, the Diva's simultaneous now as well, depending upon the number of tracks. Yeah, it is simultaneous mirroring.
That serial port will. Here comes the microphone, roll. Here comes the microphone.
Come on, Walt, audio.
The serial port that's on that will do remote roll from like a Roll Logic or from your...
Yeah, you can, if you're not plugged into a serial device, it is smart enough that you can set it up to take a contact closure to remote roll it. Yeah, so it's a serial / parallel port. So we kind of have double duty on that.
Glenn, I noticed that when I played with the Nomad, I put the lithium 1.5 AA's in there and used it with regular alkalines, and the battery life wasn't that great. It wasn't that long. But how long would it run if you plugged an MP1 into it?
Well, I have had a fresh MP1 in all morning. We're still at 14.6 volts.
It's 4 hours feeding it just power, not no tracks or anything like that. If you just have it on all day,
About 4 hours?
It's 4.3 hours
With the MP1?
with the MP1.
Actually, I think you can get more. It's going to draw about a little more than half an amp. A lithium MP1 typically will deliver about 4 amp hours. So a little more than half an amp will give you a little less than 8 hours. So I would say if you're using a lithium NP1, you probably get right about 7 hours.
And that's a Nomad only, not the Nomad and
Right. So it's
receivers.
exactly.
That's
so
right.
a typical bag setup powered by an NP1, I'd say you can probably get count on 4 hours on a typical bag setup. Right, for the whole bag, not just for the Nomad.
Yeah, so it's pretty respectable runtime for Nomad. Again, it's roughly half the power of other devices. So, and then we're thinking, that the IFB is in there as well, which typical FM IFB transmitter is going to probably draw quite a bit of power as well. So,
What's the output of the IFB?
IFB output is 50 milliwatts. Yeah, so it's a pretty decent power level. Just talking about the batteries, it does not work with alkaline batteries. If you put alkaline batteries in it, there's a good chance they're going to explode. Okay, because alkaline batteries, at 9 volts, which is there's 6 batteries, we probably draw 900 milliamps from those batteries. They are not designed to do that. So the 2 batteries you can use are lithium batteries or nickel metal hydride batteries. They will work fine. A set of lithium batteries will run this for approximately an hour and a half. The internal battery is really designed just to be a backup so that if you lose external power, that the machine will continue to run. And it will also tell you on the display whether it's on internal battery or external, and it'll tell you the voltage that it has. And this one actually is down to 6.6 volts. So it's getting pretty low. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy clocked out in a short period of time, so we're going to switch him off. Just going around to the other side of the machine, this has quite a bit of output capability. Another great thing here is there's full-size XLRs on the output. There's 6 output buses. 4 of those output buses are the full-size XLRs. Every output is switchable from 0 dB to -10 to -35. So it's line level, consumer, or mic level. These 6 buses are also represented on 3 TA5 connectors as well. And these are completely separate electrically isolated outputs that, again, you can make any of the 3 levels. So you won't have any interaction between the XLRs and the TA5s. You actually get 2 headphone outputs. One headphone output, the big connector, the 1/4-inch connector, is connected to the headphone knob. When you press the headphone knob, you actually can cycle through approximately 14 different memories that you set up the way you want. Okay, Nomad is not going to tell you how to monitor. If you want to monitor, stereo, mono, card tracks, output buses, you can set them up the way you want, and you can label them so you know what they are. And all of that stores in the machine, and on memory cards so that you can recall it. So you can customize the monitoring any way you want. There's also a secondary headphone output that also allows you to select anything. It doesn't have memories involved with it. The idea behind the secondary output is if you want to use a wired boom situation, you're able to plug it in there and then have that boom person listen to whatever you want to feed them. And then you have your output, so you listen to what you want. We also have a mono and tape output. These outputs are simply just regular, routable tracks. So again, you can listen to card tracks or output buses or returns, any way you like to do it. The slate mic, sorry?
Can you just show this side of them as well?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks, man.
Come on, you guys don't see it. Right, so the outputs are, the mono and tape outputs are here on 3.5 millimeter connectors. We also have a slate input as well. The box has a slate microphone on it, but you can also go to the external slate input, and that external slate input, you can use dynamic microphones as well as powered microphones. So it will run, if you want to plug in an external lav, you can do that, so you can have a headset. So it's very versatile when it comes to communications. In fact, the slate mics are, you've got two buses for that. There's a COM bus and a slate bus, and those are individually routable. So if you want to talk to your boom op, you can do it with the COM, and you want to slate the tracks, you can do it with slate, and again, you route it anywhere you like to route it. But let's talk about something that I didn't go over yet, which is when you monitor, through this system, and you're using Zaxnet, and you're using Zaxcom wireless, the Nomad, as part of that system, can receive audio back from the receivers that are on camera directly through the Zaxnet system. Okay? If you monitor, or if you come into the monitor section, you can select 6 cross points for Zaxnet. Each cross point represents a different camera, so that when you monitor that camera, the Zaxnet transmitter switches into receive mode, tunes to the right frequency for that camera, and routes the audio to your headphone. So you can label headphone memories as camera A, B, C, D, E, and F, and just cycle through those settings so that you can, let's say on a 3-camera shoot, say, okay, I have audio on camera A, camera B, camera C, and now I'm listening to my thing, I'm ready to go. The one thing that this can't do, I didn't say that before, did I? Okay, this is the first thing it can't do. But what this can't do, it can't transmit and receive at the same time. So if you're going to monitor a camera, it stops transmitting. So this is the kind of thing that maybe you would do before you roll, because if you are providing IFB to people listening on set, when you're monitoring a camera, that transmission is going to stop. Okay? Did it?
If you have a QRX100 transmitting your IFB,
Sorry.
sure. If you have a QRX100 transmitting IFB and that's not your main IFB transmitter, can you use that to monitor all the camera returns?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, if you have a separate IFB 100 as your transmitter, you can always have this in receive mode as a camera monitor. So in the menu for Zaxnet, it allows you to go into receive mode, transmit mode, or TXRX mode, which means it's automatically going to go into receive or transmit mode depending upon what you're monitoring here. So it's very, very versatile in that way. You can also take an ERX 100 and hardwire it in to the returns, so that if you just want to listen to a separate return and have that there all the time, you can use a separate return receiver. And while I'm here saying like this is the most interconnected system you can buy, please don't think that you can't use this with other manufacturers' equipment. I mean, certainly using it with our competitor's wireless or using our wireless with a competitor's recorder will absolutely work, and frankly, it'll work better and give you more value, than whatever, you're doing as far as what you're buying, whether it be a Zaxcom recorder with our competitor's wireless or our competitor's wireless, with our recorder, or whatever it happens to be. But the way to use this with anything is just have your cables made up by remote audio, of course, and plug it all together, and it should work beautifully. Just because you own a Zaxcom recorder doesn't mean, that you're stuck in an old Zaxcom system. Same with our wireless, same with our IFB. We play nicely together with everybody. You can mix and match wireless. You can have our 2-channel link going to camera. You can have talent mics from our competitors. You can take the competitors' receivers, put them in the bag, and plug them into Nomad. It all plays well. But when you buy Zaxcom, recorders, wireless, IFB, you get more because of the systemization of what we're doing here. Let's talk let's talk about MARF for a moment. I know I've talked about that over the years, but I think it bears a little repeating because MARF is absolutely the way we record in the Nomad. MARF has proven itself over the years to be something that is just invaluable. If you record on a FAT32 system, as all of our competitors do, if you lose power in the middle of a recording, you are guaranteed to lose audio. You may lose a few seconds, you may lose up to a minute, depending if it was writing directories at the time that you clocked out, as it were, you could lose the entire card. Okay? That is not something that happens with Zaxcom. Mobile audio recording format that we invented still, is absolutely the most fail-safe way to record because it is embedding the directory in the audio file so that if you lose power during a recording, the system will shut down. When it comes back, the first thing it does, it looks at the recording media and says, are there any open files? If there are, it goes to that file, it scans the file and the directory within the file, and it says, aha, I see where the recording stopped, I'm closing it here, and it'll put up a message and says, file recovered, you're good to go, which all happens in a second or two. So I can't overemphasize, the importance of that in just knowing that everything that you recorded up to that point is here and that you are not going to lose any audio or any files if you do have a power failure while recording. And I think it is a key difference between the Zaxcom system and every other manufacturer of recorder. I think that we are more focused on making sure that when you go out to record sound, whether it be through our wireless system or our recorders directly, that there is literally zero tolerance at Zaxcom for you not getting what you went out to get. Do things happen occasionally? Sure they do. But if we put in as many fail-safe ways of recovering your audio, whether it be through recording wireless or whether it be through a file system that is designed specifically for audio recording, that's the best that we can do for you. And I think it's a key difference and one of the things that we're very proud of that we do this for you. Okay. Just to talk about the GUI for a second. When I say GUI, I mean graphical user interface, of course. In metering, Nomad is really fantastic in its GUI. We have different home menus. Those home menus show you different things. They show you inputs. They show you outputs. Every time you turn an input pot, you've got an input meter that pops up so that you always can see the input of the channel that you are adjusting. Okay? No other system does that. The meters are fully linear, meaning that, or I should say continuous, because we use so many pixels that you get a nice smooth meter action, real time, and we also give you the gain reduction on the meter as well as metadata within the meter, so you actually know what you're looking at. This is so much better than the types of mixer recorders that just show you a few LEDs. This is really good. Also, you have different colors indicating what you're looking at. You have purple meters for card tracks. You have green meters, I believe, for analog inputs, blue meters for digital inputs. So it's really easy to do that, to know what you're doing. And also, like, that was a card track, which I'm not feeding anything to right now, but here's a meter where we show 6 analog inputs, 2 output buses. Here is our 10-track mixing meter where we show you stereo bus, and we also have 4 extra faders on here. And I didn't talk about this before, but with Nomad, you can mix 10 tracks, 10 analog inputs, without any extra fader panels, okay? When I say extra fader panels, some of you are familiar with some of the other products out there. With this, you can actually mix live 10 tracks of audio just with the base hardware. We're actually at one point thinking of making an external fader panel, but it came down to the point where there was absolutely no reason for it. Why should we charge you for something you don't need? Why should we add something that adds weight and bulk to the bag when we can do just as good or better job and a more reliable job just by doing it right on Nomad? So with Nomad, you actually have the ability to have the 6 hardware faders and also have 4 virtual faders on the screen so that you can utilize inputs 7, 8, 9, and 10, which are the returns. They do double duty. They can be either monitor inputs or full bandwidth line level inputs with faders that you can adjust right on the Nomad. So it keeps the Nomad nice and compact, lightweight, and most of all, reliable because everything is inside. There's no external cables to worry about. Just a really, really great way to do it. So that's our screen. I know it's tough for people in the back of the room, and we're going to leave this up here, and I'll be up here, and Glenn will be up here to go through it with you and show you what it can do. Okay, so as I said, we've got multiple menus to allow you to meter and route and operate the way you want to operate. I think an important thing, a distinction between this mixer recorder and other products out there, if you look at the Diva as far as the way it works, Diva typically displays for you card tracks because really you're interested in seeing what you're recording. You're not so much interested in what you're feeding to anyone else. So you look at the card tracks, and that defines Diva. With this, you're often more interested in what you're sending to camera. So there you want to meter the outputs. And also maybe you want to meter inputs to see what's going on. So because we have this very flexible meter thing going on, if you're on a cart one day, you can do what you need to do on a cart. If you're in a bag, you can do what you want to do in a bag. One product is really going to work great in both applications. Yeah, we'll get you hooked up.
With that in mind, what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I had a question. Obviously, the Nomad works with the Mix 8
Yes.
control service, and it does not work with the Mix 12. Would there be a mothership mod that you could do to a Mix 12 to make it work with the Nomad? Because now that I'm thinking about it more, that actually would be a versatile system on a cart, a Mix 12 with a Nomad 12, but I know it's not physically possible at the moment.
Right. The Mix 12 situation is one that we really have to put a little more thought into. We decided right now that really the Mix 8 was the way we wanted to go. Mix 12 is certainly something that was designed for Diva and Fusion. I'm not saying to you that it will never happen. It's just that we haven't gotten to the point where we're going to.
I mean, it would obviously be a hardware mod, which is fine as well. Some people may be willing to do something like that if it were physically possible.
Well, I really can't give you a good answer on that right now, so I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. Where were we? I think. Nomad is a pretty damn versatile machine, and I think it's something that really will change the way people do their work. Whether you're an ENG EFP guy or a film TV guy, Nomad is just a very cool product and one that I think will change things in the industry quite a bit. So, I guess
Glenn, excuse me one second. We're streaming this live.
Yes.
We've got quite an audience worldwide right now. So I just want to encourage people to tell people who are listening by stream that if they have questions, they can text them in, and I'll transfer them to Glenn, and we'll try to answer them. So
Okay.
one we just got in was asking if the Zaxcom wireless system was compatible with other traditional analog systems. For instance, if you have an analog transmitter, can it be received by the Zaxcom receivers? And I'll let you respond to that.
Sure. Zaxcom wireless is not compatible with FM systems because the way the system works, it's really designed to receive streams of ones and zeros. There's no FM demodulator in it, and it's possible that at some point we might include an FM software package. I mean, it's really designed to do what we need to do. We also feel that, FM, there's a lot of people out there doing FM, and I know if we were to receive FM transmitters, it might help people transition into the digital domain. It really isn't something that, that we're planning on doing because we're just so focused on trying to improve the state of the art going forward and not really look backwards toward FM, because there's just certainly enough systems out there that provide FM compatibility between manufacturers, and we really want to stay with audio that's as pristine as possible. It would be impossible for us to utilize an FM transmitter that uses a companding system and do a really great job of making it sound as good or better than the FM system already does. So we're really focused on moving forward. So unfortunately, that's not something we're probably going to be doing. Yes?
Can you talk about auto mix?
Sure. Well, it's okay. There's two things going on. There's auto mix and auto trim. You want me to talk about auto mix? Okay. And I thank you for bringing that up, because that also brings me to where we are in our product development. There's very few things that are not in this unit at this moment. The announced feature set includes auto mix. What auto mix is going to do, depending upon the model that you buy, you'll be able to auto mix, I believe, either 6 or 12 tracks together. And the auto mix is going to basically look at the inputs and utilize a downward expander in order to turn off and on the inputs. It's kind of like a noise gate. So we're going to look at those inputs. We're going to base what channels are off or on a priority system that you enter in here. So you can say that, excuse me, you can say that my channel 1 is the highest priority input, so I want to make sure that if that input comes up, that input is definitely going to override the other inputs. So you can set the priorities. There's basically a 1 to 10 numbering system that you can set up for them. You can make them all the same level if you want. And it will auto-mix everything together, maintaining as consistent a background noise level as possible, while figuring in the priorities of the system based on how you've programmed it. You're also going to be able to set the maximum level of every channel that opens up with the hardware faders. Okay? You can also gang things together on the faders if you want to have one master fader for, let's say, your most important character or speaker, and then maybe others would be on a single pot, or you can have them on multiple pots, whatever you want to do. Again, it's a very flexible system as far as that goes. You'll also be able to force channels off or on. So if in the middle of the auto mix, someone's talking but they're not coming up because the priority level is set very low, you could actually hit the button associated with the pot or turn the pot, and it'll say, oh, okay, this guy wants this one. And it'll know to open that channel up, or if you want to shut someone off, you can press a button and mute it out. So it should be a very good interactive system along with what you want to do and with how I would hope people want auto mixers to work. I mean, auto mixing is an art, and I would hope that our algorithm, which will be different than other people's algorithms, certainly, because we're not copying anyone, we're doing our own thing.
Sorry, Glenn. We have someone online asking about the differences between the the different models of Nomad, 4, 6, 8, and 12.
Of
So if
course.
you can talk about that and then the upgrade path.
Absolutely. Let's start with Nomad 4. Nomad 4 is a basic recorder, includes all the analog inputs, okay, all the returns, does not include AES. So there's no AES input, there's no AES output on a Nomad 4. It does not include the Zaxnet system, so you would not have the IFB transmission. Other than that, I believe that product starts at $3,900 American as far as the cost. And again, it's a good basic system. Then we move up to the Nomad 6. Nomad 6 is a 6-channel recorder, includes full Zaxnet compatibility, includes AES, okay? I did it. Includes AES, and, well, I should say that the 4 and the 6 do not include USB port support, and that's the 4 and the 6. You can upgrade a 4 to a 6 in the field. We can give an unlock code, and you can go from the 4-track to the 6-track with Zaxnet. Moving up to the 8-track recorder, the Nomad 8. Actually, I'm going to refrain from giving prices because I don't want to make a mistake at this point, because I don't have all the prices in my head, current prices anyway. So on the Nomad 8, Nomad 8 is pretty top of the line. It has Zaxnet, it has full AES support. It will have a little, what we call Linux processor in it that supports the USB port. When you get the Linux processor, you can do a few things. You can write external hard drives, you can write external flash memories, and you'll also be able to plug in a Wi-Fi adapter. And I didn't talk about this before, so I'm really happy this question came up. What we are doing is we're putting in software into this so that you can record MP3 files, which you can only do with a Nomad 8 or 12. When you record those files, you can record regular linear files, you can record MP3 files, and you can also include timecode as a linear recorded track, meaning with the Nomad 8, you're able to output MP3s with timecode, and you can also stream them through Wi-Fi. So if you're out doing a shoot for a broadcast network and they need to get that audio to a transcription house very quickly, you've got a directory of addresses that you'll be able to stream these MP3 files with timecode out to for instant delivery to the transcription house. And again, that's something that you'll only be able to do with the 8 or the 12 because it uses this little processor board that we plug in. So that is a hardware difference associated with the 8 and the 12. To upgrade to an 8 from either a 4 or a 6 requires the installation of this card, which can be done at Zaxcom or should be done at Zaxcom. If you're located somewhere very, very far away, we could arrange with the dealer to do it once we start doing them and make sure that it will go smoothly at a dealer, which I assume that it would. We are not offering the USB functionality at this time. Okay? We're also not offering the auto mixer. These are two functions which are yet to be put into Nomad. Nomad 12 is the same as the Nomad 8, except it will record 12 tracks. And you can upgrade from Nomad 8 to a Nomad 12 simply by us giving you, again, an unlock code. There's no difference in the hardware. So, depending upon the upgrade that you want to do in the field, some upgrades are done just through software and entering codes, and some upgrades are done by plugging in this little Linux plugin board. But really, Nomad is getting to be an absolutely finished product. We hope to have the auto mixer and the USB support, and I know I'm leaving out one other, Mix 8 support as well. Mix 8 support is not there. Mix 8 is our little mixing panel, and that will be coming actually, I think that's about a week or two away. We'll have Mix 8 support, so we're getting very close on that. So there are very few things that are not in Nomad currently, but we will have hopefully everything finished up in the next 60 days or so, because we really need to do so because we we need to do what we say we'll do.
Physically, if you got a 4, you could actually make that a 12?
With a plug-in card, you can make it into a 12, yeah.
Okay,
So you can go all the way
the
from...
box is the same.
The box is the same, right. And this is, when you think about it, this is, I think, a really important thing for our customer base. Because there are people out there that own, 3 and 4-track analog mixers. There's people that own 4-track recorders. There are people that own 8-track recorders. And you're forced to sell that in order to move up. And with Zaxcom, you can start with a 4, and as your needs are increasing for more tracks or more features, you're able to stick with the same hardware that you've taken care of and not take a big hit when you have to sell and rebuy. So I think Zaxcom is doing the right thing for the customer, and it's a good thing for us as well. Because we want you to stay with the product, and we think that if you're happy with what we do, then you'll be more inclined to purchase more of it going forward.
I want to make a point that the 4, 6, 8, and 12 is the same chassis, the same layout, same number of knobs and connectors and so forth. And I think the upgrade path is the difference in price between one model and the one you upgrade to, plus an additional $300 for the change.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really quite cost effective to go from one model to another. I mean, what we tried to do was to say, let's build a product that is not going to be obsolete. Let's make sure we can put every possible feature we can in this, that we can try to predict what people will be doing in the future, and come up with a product that you buy today, that 10 years from now, you will not be able to find a recorder or mixer combination that is going to be substantially different or better that you would want to sell this. Okay? We want this to be the last bag mixer recorder you buy. And if you're a rental house and you're putting on different classifications of product on the shelf, this is a really great thing, because instead of having a lot of products sitting around, because someday someone only wants an 8-track recorder, or another day they're doing something where they want a 3-track or 4-track mixer, you've literally got the same hardware on the shelf. And as a rental house, you can say, hey, you know what? We have a job coming up where someone's got to do 12-track recording, so we can take those Nomad 6s, get those upgraded, and we can go do this job. So you don't have a lot of hardware sitting around that you're not using, because hardware on your shelf isn't making you any money. Okay? We need to make sure that you get maximum utilization out of everything you purchase, and I think that that's something that the Nomad product does for you. And besides, you're just going to like it. It's really cool.
Hey, Glenn, we have a few questions online, if you could
Sure.
field them really quick. Greg is asking on the Nomad 8, he just wants to clarify to make sure that you can actually record 8 ISO tracks.
Absolutely. Now, because it is an 8-track recorder, you have a maximum of 8 tracks to record. So if you recorded 8 ISOs, you're not going to have any room for the mix tracks. So you would probably want to go, if you want 8 ISOs, you would probably want to go with a Nomad 12, so you can then lay down, up to, you can lay down 12 tracks. They can be any combination of ISO tracks or mix tracks. I mean, you choose what you want to do with that. But definitely a Nomad 8 will lay down 8 ISO tracks.
Okay, and for Phantom Power, Dean was wondering, does it do 48 or 12-volt T? Or?
No, there's no T-Power.
Okay.
T-Power is just not really utilized anymore. The problem with T-Power, if I can get technical for a second, is it's not a differential system, and when you use it with DSP or digital products, it is almost impossible to eliminate any digital artifacts, because you just can't get the power that clean, because literally the power and the audio are the same thing. There's no what we call common mode rejection, because power is non-differential and audio is differential. So that's the reason that almost no manufacturer in a digital product offers T-Power, because it's literally just impossible to supply. I will tell you that you can certainly use a separate T-Power supply and then plug the output of that into one of our mic level inputs and do that, but it would require a separate power supply. And there's my T-Power talk. Okay. More in there. Oh, well,
Word clock comes out. Word clock comes out.
no, we don't supply word clock out. The reason we don't, and I believe we do reference to AES audio, but the reason we don't do word clock out is that you don't have to reference this machine. Every digital input has sample rate conversion, and the machine can absolutely run asynchronously. If you want to hook units together, you can hook units together. The clocks are all timed very accurately, but we don't support word clock. If somebody wanted a unit with word clock out, we could actually do a mod and provide that. But you know,
So how would you hook it to an O1V, which happen, mixers that some of us use?
all you have to do is hook the digital out of the O1V to the digital in of this, and you're ready to go. It does not require external reference. It absolutely will work perfectly without any reference. It's just one less thing for you to have to worry about, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, word clock, I mean, there's a lot of things out there that require word clock. I personally believe that it's, for the type of work we do, it's not really a necessary thing. There's some people that might say, well, I want the audio clock to be the same clock as what's on the camera, so that I know that these things are locked together. But the fact of the matter is, if you recorded audio for an hour straight and it was unlocked, you're not even going to slip a fraction of a frame over an hour. So it really is just an inconsequential thing to be unlocked. So we don't worry about it. And I've never had a problem.
Yeah, we have one more online from Jorge. He was wondering if there's a way to actually store and track the names in the Nomad to recall later instead of going back in and repunching them up.
To store the names?
Yeah, he was looking to see if you could store like a...
Meter labels.
Right. Well, currently meter labels are part of all of the data that's stored in the personality of the unit. If you wanted to store the entire setup for Nomad, you can do it to an internal memory or an external card. So the labels would be part of that memory. So you would simply just say, save this configuration, and then just recall the whole configuration. There's no separate meter label memory at this point. However, we certainly have that under consideration because it has been asked for more than once. But right now, it's just part of the entire memory system of Nomad. And that does actually bring up a very good point. If you look at analog mixers, one of the flaws of analog mixers is they simply can't remember setups because everything is going through pots and switches, and it's just hardware-based type technology. With Nomad, if you rent a unit out, if you send it out on second unit, all you have to do is just recall the memory, and the machine completely sets itself up for what you want it to do. So this is a big advantage over the analog mixing, devices that are out there. I think, another thing is, and I didn't mention it, but Nomad is a full digital mixer, meaning that once you go through the A to D converter, everything's in the digital domain, meaning that if you change cross points, you can do that in the middle of a recording. There are never any clicks or pops. Everything is cross-faded. So in an analog type mixer, when you do flip switches and you do, route things, you do often have these clicks and pops that get into the audio. And you never have to worry about that with Nomad. Also, the audio quality of Nomad, because everything is in the digital domain as a 32-bit floating point mix, okay? There's never any distortion added by the product in the mixing domain, and there's never any noise added because everything is all numbers inside the box. And I will also tell you that Nomad is pretty damn reliable when it comes to not locking up. I know there's a lot of situations out there where people are worried that they're going to be recording and all of a sudden the thing's going to stop working. and they have to reset it. Nomad has a really great track record of continuously running without these quote-unquote lockups that do affect certain people. So it's a really, really reliable system.
Now,
And I think part of that is also due to heat. The colder something runs, the better it runs. When something gets hot, electronics does not like heat. So for any unit to get warm, it is more likely, or hot. If it's too hot to touch, chances are you're in a little bit of trouble. And Nomad runs virtually cold.
a couple more questions online. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question about EQ. Is there any EQ built into that?
Thank you very much. I didn't cover that. I need to cover that. Let's talk about effects. Nomad, okay, it's not a Diva or a Fusion. Diva and Fusion have 3-band EQs on every input. But what we do give you is 2 notch filters per input. And they are DSP-based filters. They are really tight. You can adjust the Q. You can adjust the frequency of those filters. And you can knock out 60 hertz, 120 hertz, anything you want to knock out. So if you have some lighting, buzz, or whatever, they're in there on every channel. You also have this really great soft knee compressor on every channel, or I should say compressor limiter, that if you want to use for artistic effect or limiting, that's there. Every input also has delay. So if you want to delay an input to match a wired mic versus maybe a wireless mic that's delayed for 3 milliseconds, or if you're using our slipstream where you're getting better reliability on the transmission end, you might want to delay a hardwired mic by 30 milliseconds so that everything matches perfectly. So that's there. There's 2 high-pass filters in Nomad on every channel. There's a hardware filter and a DSP-based filter. The hardware filter is there so that if you have excessive low frequency coming in from the mic, that the hardware filter will block some of that low frequency so that it doesn't clip the A to D converter. Then we have a DSP-based high-pass filter so that you can then set a higher cutoff frequency. So for artistic effect, if you want to cut it off at, let's say, 180 hertz, you do that. The hardware filter, I believe, it's not very aggressive. I know at 30 hertz, it attenuates about 12 dB. Just enough so that you don't clip the A to D converter. Because, again, once you clip the converter, everything else is out the window. But when you think about it, the never clip will also prevent you from clipping the converter. So the never clip will say, okay, I see the regular high-level signal clipping, it'll crossfade. So it's less of a problem for us, but it's still there as a beneficial feature. So that's kind of what's on the inputs of it. If you want 3-band EQ, there's Diva, there's Fusion. I think it's important to mention because I didn't talk about Diva and Fusion. I'm not going to talk so much because those are evolved products. But the logic here is that if you're on a sound card, the Diva or the Fusion are the best products for you because the touchscreen display system is so fast. It's the standard of the industry as far as literally every sound card in Hollywood has got a Diva or a Fusion as their primary recorder. And again, Nomad was designed as a backup machine for a cart or as a sound bag thing to be a unique product, and yet one that is compatible with Diva and Fusion file-wise. So as a production sound mixer, you're going to be able to go back and forth and have the compatibility in the system.